Hello everyone, I'm Miro Skokovic, pastry chef at restaurant Gramercy Tavern, and I'm here to show you how to make my favorite pumpkin maple meringue pie. So first step in making our pie, we're going to grate our butter, which make this pie crust super flaky. So you have to freeze your butter, leave it in a freezer for about half an hour. It's much more easier to grate. And I have a very hot hand, so I have to use a towel. I'm gonna put this back in the freezer just to stay cold, because it's very important when you're making a pie dough that everything stays super cold, freezing. Okay, I'm just mixing my sour cream and water, and I'm gonna put it back in the fridge in order to stay cold. Now we're gonna put our pie together. So we have our super cold flour here, salt and sugar. We're going to mix this. And now we're gonna add our frozen butter. And then we're just going to gently mix this together. All we want is just to coat this beautiful butter strands with flour. Just make a little well in the middle and then add sour cream and water. Just mix it a little bit. It's going to be definitely a shaggy dough, and that's what we want. We're going to transfer this onto the parchment paper. I know it looks all crumbly and shaggy, but don't worry, it will come together. I'm just going to wrap it and put it away. You can definitely use the plastic wrap, but I prefer parchment because it allows it to breathe a little bit more and doesn't create the condensation on the outside, which makes the dough a little bit stickier. And we're going to keep it for at least 4 hours or overnight. As you can see, our dough is nice, smooth and silky. So now we're going to roll it out. I just want to show this beautiful butter. Look at these beautiful butter pieces. That's definitely going to be a super flaky. So you want to leave your dough to sit out for about 15 or 20 minutes, just so it's easier to roll out. And you don't want to add too much flour. You want to add just enough so it doesn't stick to your surface or the rolling pin, but don't add too much. There. I think we're good. So now we're going to line our pie dish. Just flip it and roll it. Just transfer it. And tuck it in. Make sure you get the corners first. I'm going to pop it in the fridge for about 20 minutes just to firm up, and then I'm just going to trim the sides with a knife. That's it. I'm going to put this back in the fridge, not the freezer. I prefer to keep it in the fridge and chill it, and then we're going to bake it. Okay, our dough is nice and chilled, so now we're going to pre-bake it. We have our oven preheated at 400 degrees. We're going to take a parchment paper. I hope you're reusing the one that you wrapped. Just going to crush it as much as possible. And then we're going to use this to line our pie dough. And then you can use any pie weights that you want. You can use those metal ones, you can use beans. I'm using some zucchini beans. We're going to put it in preheated oven and bake for about 25 to 30 minutes until it's golden brown on the outside, but still quite pale on the inside. And then we're going to remove these zucchini beans, and we're going to bake it for additional 10 to 15 minutes until it's nice and golden brown and still have a little pale color in the middle. Okay, so our pie crust is pre-baked. You can see it has a beautiful golden brown color, almost looks like a light brown sugar. So now we're going to put our custard together. So here we have a pumpkin puree, sugar. We're going to add light brown sugar, a little bit of salt to boost the flavor, some spices, my favorite cinnamon, and dried ginger. You can also add a little bit of flour, just regular AP flour. It's going to help with setting the pie, and heavy cream. Now we're going to pour everything in. Make sure you scrape everything, you don't want to leave anything behind. And we're going to bake it in preheated oven at 325 degrees. And the reason why we are baking at a lower temperature, because the custards preferably should bake low and slow, so that way it stays nice and silky and beautiful. And you will know that pie is done when it slightly puffs on the sides, but still jiggly like a jello in the middle. Okay, so now it's time to make our topping for our pumpkin pie and make our maple meringue. So I'm going to put the egg whites in the mixer. I'm going to add a little bit of cornstarch, which is going to help with stability and whipping. If you don't have cream of tartar, that's fine. You can just add a little bit of salt and lemon juice. And I'm going to start mixing. So you don't want to mix it higher than medium, which in KitchenAid mixer is between 4 and 6, which is 5, I guess. So once your egg whites are frothy, we're going to start adding maple sugar. And I love using maple sugar more than maple syrup because maple sugar has no moisture added to it. So all of the moisture is evaporated, so the maple flavor is more concentrated. Maple sugar is one of those alternative sugars that can be substituted 1-to-1 with a granulated sugar without any difference in texture. But of course, flavor is going to be different. Maple is much more stronger in taste than a regular granulated sugar is. So I'm just going to slowly add a little bit at a time. Now that we added all of our sugar, we're just going to let our meringue go, and we want to create like a medium stiff peaks. While that's happening, I'm going to make a slurry. So here I have water, okay, and then I'm going to add cornstarch. So the reason why I'm adding the slurry to meringue because it makes it super stable and it doesn't deflate. So I'm just going to mix this. I'm going to bring it to boil, and then I'm going to turn down the temperature and simmer for about 2 to 3 minutes before I add it to my meringue. So I know it's unusual to see meringue on top of the pumpkin pie because everybody always serves cream, but I prefer it this way. And reminds me of my first Thanksgiving in the United States back in 2001. I was a 16-year-old foreign exchange student from Serbia and came to the great state of Indiana. There's more than corn in Indiana. It was a little town called Greentown, and I've stayed with my host family, Jim and Lisa Custer. Hi, Jim and Lisa. And my first Thanksgiving was about 2 months after I arrived, and Jim took me to his parents' house, his mom Nancy, and she taught me how to make a pie. Until this day, I still use her recipe. Somewhat I tweak the amount of the butter, and I added sour cream, as I said, but I still use technique and recipe that she taught me. So I'm forever grateful for that. And that first Thanksgiving, I still remember, it was so crazy. There was like 20, 30 people watching. What was the game that everybody watches?
Football.
Yes. So it was fun to see everybody screaming and yelling while the game is playing and eating turkey and cranberry sauce and everything else. And I really enjoy seeing this. By that time, I was homesick. You know, it was 2 months. I was far away from my family. So seeing everybody comes together over the plate of food and game just reminded me of home because all of our holidays in Serbia is nothing but screaming and yelling and watching soccer and eating. So that was kind of like a nice moment for me. So now you can see that it became like a slurry. It became cloudy and thick, and that's exactly what we want. So our meringue is good. It's about medium peaks. So I'm just going to turn down the speed, and I'm going to slowly add the slurry to it. I'm going to turn this up to medium high, and we're going to whip this until firm peaks form. Oh, look at those peaks. Nice firm peaks. Here we have our pumpkin pie that we chilled. Look at it, beautiful. It did crack a little bit, but that's totally okay. Don't worry about it. You're going to cover it with meringue anyway. I would advise you to just leave a little bit of pumpkin custard showing. And now the fun begins. Let's torch our meringue. Okay. So torching it gives it a beautiful color. I like some parts to be a little burnt.
Miro makes all of the pies for my family for Thanksgiving every year because they tried the pumpkin meringue pie and it's the only one that we can serve now because it's truly the best.